we're going away for the holidays or what, who knows? But then we get the GDP number yesterday, and the market apparently liked it. It wasn't quite as strong as expected, but stronger than last quarter. So it shows the economy is still okay, but not heating up enough to where maybe the Fed thinks about any sort of other rate hikes. And here we are, right back to where we were. And so, as you said, on this traditional holiday march through the end of the year, so we'll see if it continues performing pretty well today. And we'll see what happens during next week. Next week is what they call normally the Santa Claus rally. That's the week between the Christmas holiday and New Year's, where nobody is basically trading. And that old expression, never short a dull market, comes in, and we tend to drift higher. So maybe that happens. The only thing to keep in the back of the mind is it is such a low volume week that if there was some sort of a negative headline of some kind, you can get exaggerated moves to the downside. But aside from that, the market tends to just drift to the upside through there. So that's where things are. And a little bit of a movement since our last discussion on cryptos, too. When you and I covered that, it was a lot of fun doing that. So we had a little bit of a move back. Be anxious to hear your thoughts on that. What appeared to be a test of 40,000 and right back up on Bitcoin. So we look at the S&P, just a couple quick other charts, and then we'll chat. The 10-year is ticking up just a touch today, so a little bit of a move up on the 10-year, but not much. You can see we've had this big move to the downside, so the market and the bond market feels like maybe it's buying in a little bit on the future of rate cuts. So with rates moving down, and then we had a discussion last night about how some people had gotten actually a 5.99 on a 30-year mortgage, and so you have to wonder, will that create a renewed move higher in the home builders? And it seems like they're a little bit ahead of it. So if we bring up a quick chart of the XHB on the home builder side of things, you can see that the home builders are performing pretty well. Now we've got a little tiny triangle here, and we'll see if that creates any sort of a breakout move, but a pretty nice run there. And then the dollar that has been tanking, which is helpful for international companies. So interest rates have ticked up a little so far today. Dollar ticking down again a little bit today. So I guess we're in the sweet spot, Brandon, it seems like.
It looks like it. I mean, everything is just loving where we're at, sitting with, the dollar, like you said. The home builders, I think, are obviously loving the upcoming rate cuts coming through next year. I think that's going to help them out just a little bit. But as we kind of fade in here towards the end of the year, you nailed it on the head when you're talking about a low volume market. I think that's contributes to, like just on the crypto side, for example, it contributes to more volatile swings, because less volume means less pressure on any opposition. So when you see a swing to the upside, it's going to have more force. And you saw that bounce right off 40,000 back up to 44,000 today on Bitcoin. But holy cow, I mean, I think the market's in a really good spot. And I know they've talked about recession, about this kind of being maybe a softer landing. But man, I don't know. They might be right. Maybe this is kind of a softer landing as I see the markets a little bit. But yeah. Oh yeah, you're seeing that's the Bitcoin chart right there. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you about that in a second, but I just wanted to, it does seem like the market is buying into this soft landing scenario, and if the market continues up and everybody starts to go that way, you know how it works. When everybody views the market one way, it tends to go the other way. So if we start to get everybody thinking, well, maybe we really are going to have a soft landing, and ignore the fact that for nearly a year and a half, we've had an inverted yield curve. So it just is, we'll start here and it's different this time. And, the bond market's wrong this time. And when all that kind of stuff comes together, I think that's when you have to get a little bit cautious, maybe even a little bit nervous, or some sort of a correction. But back to Bitcoin, as you talked about, you see we have this really nice little ascending triangle here. Normally, so I'm not putting you on the spot here or anything, just asking for an opinion because you know way more about that world than I do. Do you think that we'll see an upside breakout out of that triangle? It says, at least the triangle, saying that we're going to see some sort of a significant 5,000 or more point move out of Bitcoin here in the very near future. So you willing to make a call, or are you just going to watch and see which way it goes?
Interesting. Look at that chart read. Okay, so coming from this is interesting to see you say this, Rob, because I don't look at the charts nor the technicals too much. I just pay attention to more what's going on within the companies of crypto and kind of what's going on, I guess, more what you say, the macro picture. And right now we have the ETF approvals looming. BlackRock and all the other people just had a huge conference meeting with the SEC yesterday, a big get together, a big huddle where everybody were going to discuss the way that they wanted to treat the ETFs, and they're discussing finite details. I mean, so it's not a matter of if this is going to happen, it's more of a matter of when this is going to happen. And we strongly believe, like in my circles, it's going to be by January 10th. Which would also imply and kind of lend to the situation at hand here where you saw Bitcoin's massive jump back up to 44. The last few days kind of it correlates very closely with those meetings and what's been happening on behind the scenes there. And as news keeps coming out, I look at your wave 4 on that Elliott wave that you have on there, and I don't see that playing out. There's a few people playing that scenario out to that where that wave 4 is exactly. And the chart may have set that up prior to this, but where you have so much outside influence, you have the ETFs coming, you have the Ethereum ETF potentially being pushed back to May, but you also have the halving coming up in April, which that corresponds directly to your little bullish. Is that a bullish flag you called that thing? Is that what that is? Or what is that thing? Is that a bullish triangle? But that will play into that nicely. So I also predict more of a 5,000 point move on Bitcoin. I see 50,000 easily first quarter of next year, but I think it's going to be even sooner than that.
Yeah, well, since we're in a wave 3 with this, and this is an ascending triangle, a lot of people believe an ascending triangle dictates an upward breakout, but triangles can break either direction. So this 4 would be only if we had a downside breakout. So what will happen on the Elliott Wave chart is if we do break higher out of this triangle and move up there, this 4 will move up, the 5 will move, because for some reason the algorithm, and plays right into what you're saying, loves a $50,000 price on Bitcoin. It's saying we're going to go there. Now, it's not sure if we correct a little bit first and then go there, or does the wave 3 continue there? So if the wave 3 continues to 50,000, this 4 projection, and again, it doesn't mean we're in a 4 now. It's just like if it broke to the downside, where would the 4 likely find support? And it does kind of make sense with this area through here. But an upward breakout and these two targets change. But it does feel like at least Elliott Wave feels that you're going to see a 50,000 price on Bitcoin in the not too distant future. So that goes right along with what you're saying. It's interesting to hear your comments. I was going to ask you about that, of where we stood on approval of the ETFs, et cetera. So you remember, it doesn't seem like that long ago where they were so against that, like they weren't going to do it. And my things over.
Politically, that's because they didn't have enough of their eggs in their own basket yet. Now they've maneuvered some pieces on the game board to where that's going to benefit them a little bit more. And I think they're in a good spot to approve these ETFs now going forward, but that's just personal opinion with what's going on. But I think interesting. I just don't know. The only qualm and the only query that we have on the Bitcoin and the crypto side is we don't know if this ETF approval is going to be one of those sell the news type events, or if it's going to be the onboarding that everybody's waiting for. So that's going to be the question mark going into Q1 of next year. As soon as they approve those ETFs, what's going to happen next? Typically, running up into a halving, you would see a continued upswing in the momentum of crypto and what's going on in Bitcoin. But we'll just have to wait and see there. But I like that synopsis, 50,000. I think it's going to hit that before it hits 40,000. That's where I'm at. So
let me ask you another question, because after our last discussion, you got me really watching Cardano and thinking about going to a smaller position that I had, because I was more on the Ethereum side. Do you think that if they so if they do Bitcoin first, but they push the Ethereum ETF out, does that allow Cardano maybe to close some of that gap? I mean, does that give it more of a place where people want to go? Do you think that'll be a negative for Ethereum, I guess is what I'm asking.
The issue with Ethereum, the sentiment's been so negative with Ethereum lately because of the increased gas fees. The inscriptions on the blockchain over there are causing gas fees to be absolutely astronomical. People can't do transactions right now. I mean, I usually do 20 to 30 transactions a day at $30 to $35 a transaction. That starts to add up. So people are drifting away from the Ethereum blockchain. They're going over to Solana, and they're looking for alternatives just like Cardano. And so where Bitcoin's going to get, if they get approved, it's going to pull some of those smaller chains up. I mean, it's going to Cardano actually has a pretty big market cap right now, but it's actually going to pull some of those other altcoins up with it before Cardano. But Ethereum's not going to be one of the ones that's going to pull up with it. If you look at the Ethereum Bitcoin chart, you'll notice Ethereum's lagging Bitcoin quite a bit this year. I mean, Bitcoin's up, I think, 100. This is just off memory, 160%. And I think Ethereum's up 90% this year, lagging like infinitesimally, just because of the congestion in the network of Ethereum. And it's sad to see that. But I was a big Ethereum believer because everything's being built on Ethereum, but it's really slowed, unfortunately. So to answer the question, I do think that Cardano is actually going to lead Ethereum in the next year with percentage gains. So if I was going to put $1 here, $1 there, it'd probably be Cardano over Ethereum. But I'm not saying Cardano's my number one choice, though.
Oh, it's not.
You asked the question. I think we actually have a couple of questions here that we might need to hit up before we go too far on this crypto discussion, because the one that we got from Emmanuel Costa is Netflix, looking at a 0.618 retrace from 5 of 2022, looks like. So let's take a look at the Netflix chart and see what's going on over there.
Okay. Well, we hit that magic round number, and we talk about this all the time. I do, about the old, my dad was such a massive Star Trek fan. It was always on, and I keep hearing the tractor beam, drawing them and all that kind of stuff. And it just, these big whole numbers are like that. They draw the stocks to them. And then, so we get to 500 and it bumps its head a little bit and backs off. I thought there was a bullish case for Netflix if we do move into a recession, almost not obviously to the severity of going back to the COVID time, but everybody was home watching Netflix, and Netflix took off. And so if we are going to back off on consumer spending, and we've all heard about record credit card debt, et cetera, is this the last hurrah this holiday season? And then going into the quarter next year, the consumer just stops spending and stops traveling and moving around. I've been on a few plane flights, been all over the place in the past 2 weeks. All evening flights, granted, but the planes are still full from what I've experienced. No available seats. So people are still traveling this holiday season. Now, whether or not that changes, I just wonder if we start to see recessionary indications, if perhaps that gives us one more leg up to the upside on Netflix. Now, there is a Wave 5 target at 520, which is not very far away. So perhaps the biggest part of the move, is over on Netflix, and maybe we don't see too much more of a move to the upside. But if we're going to have a soft landing, I think maybe that's not bullish for Netflix.
Yeah, I wonder if you're right on that one, Rob. Looking at that interesting scenario you just played out there. What is happening? What's that?
What are you thinking then?
No, I mean, Netflix. I mean, I agree. I mean, I still see more room. Netflix is coming out with some bangers. I'm just looking at the big picture on Netflix. It could go up further. I just don't know how much value they're offering to their shareholders at this. Where are they? When have they given that last member report? Right, they're losing members, correct? Or are they gaining members?
They're losing, but they were supposed to be aggressively going after all the login sharing. And from my standpoint, they've only done a little of it, and they haven't really followed.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a good thing or not. And it looks like we may or may not have just lost Rob, but
generate a whole lot more.
Okay.
They're going to generate a whole lot more revenue. Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's pretty cold up here in the mountains. We had a little internet issue last night too, so I guess we're still having problems. You know, there's one tower here. There's one tower, so if it's not cooperating, then it pops in and out. But with this move here, I think that was kind of already priced in. So I don't know where the big catalyst would be for Netflix to move up from here.
Well, let's switch gears. Let's take a look at. We have another question from ICUP. It looks like thoughts on CVNA. I think is that Carvana. CVNA is that Carvana? Wondering what the looks like move to the upside. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I've been surprised by this move, and it was interesting because in our insiders meeting we had last night for the subscribers at evotrader.com, the other guy, Jeff, and I were talking about this, and he says and I was like, really? Vending machines for cars, is that going to take off? And to go back not that long ago where we're down at $5 and now we're up at $60. I mean, that's just an unbelievable run that Carvana has had. But there has been a little resurgence in used cars, so that's something to think about. But he said that there is a Carvana near him, and he said he's never seen it busier. So I don't know. I just could be way off base on this. I'm an old school guy on buying cars, and I just don't really embrace this kind of a viewpoint on it. But you can't trade on what you think, right, Brandon? You got to trade on what the charts tell you. And the chart of Carvana has broken above this resistance area right through here at 55. And I think right now, as long as Carvana stays above Carvana, I was mixing in Carvana and Cardano there. You still got me in the Bitcoin world, the crypto world. But as long as we hold above 55, I think you have to stay long this. And, perhaps we move up to that 70 plus level that the Elliott Wave algorithm likes.
Yeah, okay, I like that read here. Okay, we got one more question here from, looks like I see, Solana, Solana to 135. That's an interesting question, only because Solana is such an absolute crap dumpster fire. So they have so many problems with the team, right? But they have such a big following, a big adoption group moving over from Ethereum to Solana. And it's actually made a huge run up. I think they're up like 700% this year, Solana is. And so many people are buying meme coins on Solana right now and buying crappy NFTs on Solana. And so there is a case where Solana is going to get back to 135, and that's just because the crowd is moving that way. So I easily see Solana get to 135 here, sadly, but I don't think it's a great asset to be investing in long term by any means. But the question here was from Laurie Tonneson, looking about traveling, wants to take a look at Airbnb here. What do we got there?
What's the symbol again? I always get this one wrong. AB, there it is. This
That's AB and okay. Yeah.
I had it right. I just wasn't confident in the symbol, but I got it. So there's no 5-wave Elliott wave pattern. We've got a triple top here. My mentor, when I first started trading, always said that the third time's the charm, meaning that when you come up to the same level on the third go round, so we've been knocked down from 150 twice, and so here we are the third time at 150. Whatever happens here, if we continue down, then that likely means that's it. It's a triple top, and we're moving down, and you'll probably see 120. However, if we could break out above 150, then we're off to the races. So it's a pretty easy read here on Airbnb. Just watch the 150 level, see how it trades through that. And I'm still in the recession camp. I'm not buying the soft landing Kool-Aid yet, Brandon. But so if I'm right, then I think the consumer just pulls back a bit, and I think that could hurt Airbnb, and maybe we do see a retracement back down towards that 120 level. The only thing changing that, a break above 150, and you got to be long Airbnb. So watch the 150 level. That's going to give you your key.
Yeah, I agree with Airbnb. That could be a tough market. That could be one of the ones that are hit the hardest if we actually run into a recession, just because travel's kind of one of those things to go, and that excess expense travel like Airbnb is going to be one of those ones that might slow down quite a bit there. Man, Rob, I really appreciate your insight today. So much good stuff. And we had some great questions from you guys, obviously in the chat as well. Hopefully we get more questions from you. Are we taking next week off, Rob? Are we not going to be here next week? We have the holidays coming up, right?
Right. Yeah, we're off next week for the holiday week, and then we will be back. I think it's the 5th, right? January 5th would be our next Friday live session. So I hope everybody enjoys great holidays. Always enjoy being here with you, Brandon. Thanks for having me again. And I look forward to, we'll recap, right? We'll see. Did Santa Claus come to the markets? Do we have the Santa Claus around? We'll be able to talk about all those things next time we get together.
Yeah, let's recap all that stuff. Well, thank you guys so much for watching the show. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you aren't already, and join us here coming up in the new year. And hopefully we'll be able to maybe we can do a separate crypto show where you could talk technicals and we can talk about crypto coming up here, and talk about some of my other plays that I'm looking at that might be a little bit more, I would say, strategic for our upside in the crypto world here. But anyway.
I look forward to that myself. So, I'm excited to talk that.
All right, cool deal. All right, let's do it. All right, thanks so much, Robin. Thank you guys, and we'll see you in the next one.
Thanks, Brandon. Thanks, everybody. Happy holidays to everyone.
Yep. Bye-bye.